Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is Karina from Diem Thrifts. If you are new here, welcome. I am a full-time reseller on Poshmark and I also own my own brick-and-mortar women's consignment store. Today I am going to chat with you guys a little bit on how to check comps when you are reselling on Poshmark. I feel like this is probably like the #1 tip that gets shared among the new reseller community. We always say check comps, check comps, check comps. I know I say it a lot, especially in my hauls when I'm talking about like a bolo brand, but what does it actually mean to check comps? The other day I was shopping in Portland and I found a bunch of great brands, but I took them all into the fitting room to check comps and I recorded my whole process. So I wanted to share that with you guys and also go over some of the tips that I have just for generally making sure that the comps that you're looking for are accurate and will really help you get your items sold. There are so many little things that we have to pay attention to when we are looking at comparable listings, but people don't really talk about that. All people say is just to check comps. So I'm going to show you guys my whole process and share some tips. So if that sounds interesting to you guys, stay tuned. Alright, so as you can see, I brought a bunch of items into the fitting room with me so that nobody would judge me or criticize me or say anything about me checking comps. I could do it safely into the fitting room. So I took this dress and I'm about to show you the tag right now. It is a bolo brand for sure. It is Christy Dawn. However, you can see on the price tag that they wanted $55 for it. Now, I had credit to spend, and honestly, sometimes with this brand, it can resell for a high amount. So if it was one of those pieces that I could sell for like $150 or more, I wouldn't have minded paying that price. However, you'll see in a second why I decided to pass on this dress. So in this clip, I usually use Google Lens. However, I decided that I was just going to look up the brand and put a simple description of the dress. Since this was such a easy dress to describe, I just put Christy Dawn polka dot dress. I was able to find it pretty easily. I switched to the image section, and as you can see here, there are a lot of Poshmark and eBay listings. So this is a great way to check comps on its own. I also use this method to find the style name of the item and also to find stock pictures. Then I go over onto Poshmark. I look for that specific dress by changing the filters on Poshmark, and I see what is available currently for sale. Then I'll go in, remove all the like size filters, see if there's anything else on there, and then also I like to check the sold. So here you can see there aren't many available, but the prices aren't that great. And then when you go into the sold, you can see that like they're selling for $50, $60. So I ended up passing on this dress because it just wasn't worth the $55 price tag. If it was like a little bit less, if it was maybe like $30, I might have considered it. However, that is just a very easy way to check comps. I did this with everything else that I found in the store, and I went in with a big pile of some bolo brands or some very popular brands, and I ended up only leaving with 2 things, and one of the things I ended up just buying for one of my friends because I knew that she would like it. Again, I feel like I say this a lot, just because something is a good brand does not mean that it's worth picking up. You have to look at comps, you have to check a bunch of different things in the comparable listings to see if it really is worth it. So let's go back a little bit to when I was looking up the items on Google. As you guys saw, there were listings from eBay and Poshmark. These don't always show accurate comps either. When you click on it, sometimes it'll be a for sale listing on Google, and it'll show you the price of the item. This is how we get guest buyers on Poshmark, in case you're wondering how that works. Poshmark pays Google to have these listings show up, but they're not always accurate. Sometimes you'll click on it and it'll end up being that the listing has sold or that the price changed or whatever reason. So don't just take the Google results at face value. Definitely still go into Poshmark and see what is currently available. If you guys do sell on eBay, I would recommend actually looking up comps on eBay instead, just because I feel like they're a little bit more accurate and they give a better depiction of what the item actually sold for. Because some things to keep in mind is that when you are looking up sold listings on Poshmark, they don't show you the full date of when the item was sold. If you notice, it'll only say the month. So right now it is September. The listing could say that it sold in September, but it could have been September last year, it could have been September 3 years ago. So when you guys are looking through sold listings on Poshmark, make sure you're filtering it so it's on just in, and that will kind of help you get a better idea. You can kind of see like through the months if a full calendar year has gone or not. Again, it's still a little bit tricky. I don't know why Poshmark doesn't include the year, but another thing is if somebody like shares the listing even after it's been sold, it also changes the date at the top, so just be aware of that. Also, Poshmark doesn't note if the item was sold in a bundle, and as you guys know, Poshmark allows you to give discounts on bundles, and you can send like private discounts. So even though something was listed at say like $150, they might have ended up selling that item for $25 in a bundle, but you're not gonna know that because it's just gonna say $150 on Poshmark. So again, something to keep in mind. That's why I like checking comps on eBay sometimes, because it says that it was accepted best offer, or that it was, if it's crossed out, if the price is crossed out on the sold listing on eBay, that means that it didn't sell for that price, it sold for under. So again, just some things to keep in mind. When you are looking up comps too, I feel like I've said comps so many times and I'm gonna say it even more in this video, don't just pay attention to the sold listings. Also pay attention to what is currently available, because you don't wanna buy something that is oversaturated, meaning that there are so many listings out there that it's gonna be hard for your item to gain visibility. So if you guys saw on that Christy Dawn dress that I had checked comps on, there were only 3 listed, but the prices were kind of all over the place, and I decided against it, even though I would have considered that piece kind of, I guess, more rare since there weren't so many available. It just wasn't selling for what I had hoped for. I also noticed that that piece was a little bit old when I was doing a little bit more digging online. But anyway, you want to pay attention to how many active listings are available on Poshmark, because like I said, if there's too many, nobody's gonna find yours. There's nothing to differentiate unless you like price gauge and lower your prices compared to everybody else, which you don't really want to do, right? So when you're looking at the available listings, it's also good to pay attention to the size of the item that you have compared to the ones that are listed. So for example, say that I have this Christy Dawn dress. I don't remember what size it was, I don't have it in front of me, but say it was a size extra large, okay? And I'm looking at all of the available ones. I've changed the filter to say all sizes available, and there are like 50 dresses available, but none of them are in an extra large. I would probably pick that up, because extra large is a great size. It is very hard to find really cute pieces in plus size items, and also there's just no supply for it. And if you guys know the basics of supply and demand, if you have something that not a lot of other people have, you're able to charge a higher price for it. So with that in mind, just make sure that you are sourcing for items that aren't super oversaturated on Poshmark or on whatever platform you guys are selling on, and price accordingly. So just because you have something that might be saturated, if you have it in a rare size, you might be able to charge a little bit more for it. As you guys noticed, the first thing that I did when I was checking comps was searching it in Google. And I know that that is a very vague, a very broad way to search for comps. However, it allows me to see if the item is also still available on a major retailer. So I don't think that brown Christy Dawn dress was currently available for sale. However, if it was available for sale on, say, the Christy Dawn website, it would have popped up as one of the first results when I typed it in. And if it was for sale, then I would have to see how much it's currently discounted at, and probably not put my price higher than that. However, if it's the other way around and the item still is for sale, but say the size that you have is sold out, you'll be able to sell it for a higher price than the sale price. And just note on there that it's sold out in that size online. That must mean that it's more popular, or that more people want it and can't get their hands on it. So they're gonna turn to these secondhand websites like Poshmark to find that dress. If you're looking up comps and you see that an item is listed for sale on multiple different retailers, like for example, if it's for sale on Revolve and ASOS and some other popular boutiques, I would also include those brands in your tags when you are listing the item, because somebody might not know that it is a specific brand. They might not know that it's like a Free People top. I don't know why they wouldn't, but who knows. Maybe they don't know that it's a Free People top, but they see that it's sold on Revolve, or they see that it's sold on ASOS, and that piques their interest. As long as it is actually sold on that website, I don't see anything wrong with that. It can just help you maybe get a little bit more visibility on that item. And last thing that I want to add is that prices are always changing. The supply and demand of items are always changing as well. Just because something is like super saturated now, or something might not be selling for a lot now, it could gain more attention and more desirability in the future. Say an influencer or a celebrity wears that item out on the street and gets photographed by paparazzi, and it becomes this super viral, really popular photo. They are wearing an item that you have for sale, or an item that you might see at the thrift store. Pick it up, because that item just increased in value just because somebody was pictured wearing it, or if it's like a similar style as well. One great example of this is Alfred Dunner. I would never pick up Alfred Dunner. It's a very like old time, old school, I guess borderline vintage, but it's gaining a lot of popularity on TikTok. So a lot of people on Depop and some of these other like trendier sellers on Poshmark are also picking it up. I'm still kind of avoiding it. I don't know too much about it, but that is something that I've noticed. So again, this is kind of turning into like a style trends video, but make sure you're staying on top of trends that are gaining popularity on TikTok, because that can drastically affect the prices of the items that you have for sale, or items that you know you can easily find at the thrift store. Anyway, those are all of my tips for finding comps. I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that this gave you a little bit of insight on how to decide whether or not you should pick up an item or whether or not it's worth selling. I have definitely made some mistakes in the past by not checking comps and just picking up a brand because it was a popular bolo brand that a big reseller was raving about, and then it ended up like not doing that well for me because it wasn't a good style, wasn't a good size, or whatever the reason. But yeah, last note, just keep in mind that these things are always changing, and it's really important to stay on top of those things, and just do your research, check your comps, make sure you know what to look for. And that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Bye! Thank you.